All right, so hello everyone, a very warm afternoon to all of you. I'm your verbal ability mentor, Sanjana ma'am. I welcome you all to the YouTube channel of Get Set Law and to another practice session for logical reasoning, targeting CLAT 2026 preparation. So, hello everyone, a very warm afternoon to all of you. We'll just wait for some time so that we have enough people to join us and then we may begin. A quick check at my end. So today again, I have brought two different, sort of passages for us to go through. Very much aligned with the level of difficulty of the questions asked in the last 2 years of the CLAT examination. Just some more time, I've already started screen sharing and then we can begin. We have already taken 11 practice sessions that include sessions on English language, logical reasoning, and legal reasoning. So it would be helpful if you go and view those sessions as well to gain more insights, relevant insights at that. All right, I think we'll begin just about now and we'll begin right with the first passage, which here is this. Okay, now again, like I keep on reiterating in every session, it's entirely up to you if you want to read it in parts, if you want to read the passage, word for word, or if you want to just cherry pick important statements here. So essentially the passage here talks about always read the first line and the first paragraph. Introduction is important, right? So it talks about interest rates and the significant impact they can have on what? International trade, right? And the fact that they affect various aspects of the global economy. I'm already getting a lot of keywords here. Okay? Because it's important, it's going to help all the stakeholders informed make informed decisions in the global marketplace. So we are essentially taking a look at interest rates and the impact on the global market and economy, right? So interest rates, what do? They influence investment decisions, economic growth. Okay, when rates are low, businesses can borrow money at a lower cost, which will, help you encourage investment in new projects and expanding operations, which leads to economic growth. So low interest rates can increase economic growth. Businesses can borrow more money at lower cost, encourage investment. Okay, now another thing is exchange rates are also affected by interest rates. So higher rates attract foreign investors seeking higher returns, which strengthens a country's currency. So a higher exchange rate strengthens the current country's currency. And a stronger currency, however, can make exports more expensive and potentially reduce international demand. Okay, so this is the downside it can have. And conversely, lower rates, they can weaken a currency, right? But they make exports cheaper and more appealing to foreign buyers. So this information here is quite important. Okay, then what else gets affected by interest rates is the cost of financing trade transactions. Okay, businesses often borrow money to cover trade related expenses. Higher rates increase borrowing costs, potentially reducing trade volumes. So, what happens is businesses borrow money to cover trade related expenses, and higher rates will increase the borrowing cost. So, the cost of financing trade transactions also goes up, right? And lower rates will make borrowing cheaper, facilitating trade, encouraging international business activities, right? So managing interest rate policies is important. Okay, effective management can stimulate economic growth and maintain price stability. That's it. That's all there is to the passage. There is some more information, which is what policymakers can do by adjusting interest rates. They can influence borrowing costs, encourage investment, and impact exchange rates, thereby affecting international trade. Okay, so interest rate movements is important to be factored in. Monitoring rates, adjusting strategies accordingly allows business and investors to leverage opportunities. You cannot ignore the impact of interest rates, right? So, read the conclusion also. It plays a crucial role in international trade. They influence investment decisions, exchange rates, cost of financing, trade transactions. Let me tell you something. I've been reading the entire passage, and one conclusion that I can draw is that uh, on the whole, there are just two, three important pointers here. Rest of the information here is quite repetitive, in nature. So you can choose to, for example, skip the conclusion also, because the conclusion is nothing but a paraphrase of the introduction here, right? Let's take a look at the questions one by one. The first question, this time around, it's primary focus of the passage under logical reasoning. So Will it be A, to discuss the impact of global interest rates on international trade? Seems like quite the primary focus, but let's just go through the other options also. To explain how interest rates affect economic growth. But this is happening only in a small part of the passage, right? We have to take into consideration the primary focus, the overarching idea. So it's not B. We are not comparing interest rates between different countries. This is absolutely not given. Highlight the importance of understanding interest rate policies. This is definitely a part. It's a subset of what is given in the passage, which is we are trying to understand the importance, but at the same time, we are trying to understand it with the very purpose of knowing that it can really affect the global economy, the global marketplace. Best option choice is A, right? It's given right at the beginning of the passage. I told you those were important key points to be kept in mind, right? Let's take a look at the next question now. What inference can be drawn about interest rates influencing investment decisions? Now, definitely they influence investment decisions, but in what ways? Look at A. Lower interest rates encourage businesses to invest and expand operations. Suppose you do not remember any information. Look at B. High interest rates make borrowing more expensive, encouraging businesses to expand. Now, tell me one thing. High interest rates definitely make borrowing more expensive. This is directly given. But in this way, don't you think it's not going to encourage businesses to expand? It will only shrink, it might contract. Okay, expanding operation is something that happens when the interest rates are low because then the borrowing is not that costly. Okay, so the best option choice here is A. Interest rates have no effect, absolutely out, and they only impact domestic investment. That's not given anywhere in the passage. So D is out. Best option choice again, option A, full scorer so far. Take a look at the third one. Now you have to draw a conclusion regarding interest rates impacting a country's export competitiveness. So, high interest rates lead to a stronger currency, making exports more expensive. This is almost given in the passage, is what I remember, right? Take a look at B because we still want to be sure. Lower interest rates attract foreign investors, weakening the currency and making exports expensive. Now, the thing is, low interest rates, they do attract foreign investors because the currency is weakened, but in a way, it's going to make the exports less expensive and not more expensive, not expensive at all. This is wrong information. Just this part, when you read, option B gets cancelled. Interest rates have no influence again. That's actually not given. They definitely do influence it, right? And higher interest rates increase the demand for the domestic currency. No, leading to a weaker currency and more expensive exports. High interest rates actually strengthen the country's currency. This is definitely given. So this is contradictory. So D is out. Best option choice is option A, right? A very easy read this was. Look at fourth now. How do interest rates affect the cost of financing international trade transactions? If you remember, and this is how you're supposed to decode the passage, I did mention that ultimately it is only going to increase the cost of financing international trade transactions. Lower interest rates increase the cost? No, they decrease the cost. So this is out. Higher interest rates increase the cost. It says reduce, absolutely out. All of these are just like the opposite pieces of information given. Interest rates have no impact. You see how repetitive the information is, the options are. This is exactly what happened in CLAT 24-25. And there's this one passage from CLAT logical reasoning section, CLAT 2023. It was about the gender gap between men and women in the workplace. Okay. So if you go through that passage also, you'll notice that much of the options and most of the questions are really sort of repetitive in nature, which is why I decided, it might be just fit for you to encounter such a passage in the practice session as well today, right? So this is also out. We're left with D, which says higher interest rates can make trade financing more expensive. That was a broader idea when I was decoding that paragraph. So D is the best option choice, right? Let's take a look at the next question here, which is why is it important for policymakers to manage interest rate policies? I think we'll be able to answer this as well. Stimulate economic growth and maintain price stability. These two keywords are actually given, but let's be sure about the other options being wrong. To ensure low interest rates for businesses and investors. No, this is not why they need to manage interest rate policies. They have to also sort of like vary the influence of it. So it's not always to ensure low interest rates, to influence exchange rates and increase trade volumes. But the more important bit is option A. To discourage international trade is actually contradictory, right? So the better option between A and C would be A. We are talking about policymakers. With policymakers, they essentially want to establish stability in prices and just sustain economic growth or further it, right? So for question number 5, the correct option choice will be option A. Let's take a look at the last question for this passage. Okay. Now, what course of action must the stakeholders adopt? This, I will not call it an application based question because, for the simple reason that it's actually given in the passage, right? I think the second last paragraph talks about it. So, do we have to ignore the impact? Definitely not. Do we have to disregard the complexities? We should always factor in the complexities, the different factors. Advocate for lower interest rates to boost rate. Not always, right? It might be true in some contexts, but not the only thing that needs to be done. So the best option choice here becomes B. Adjust strategies based on interest rate movements. That's given explicitly in the passage. So why not choose something which is given here, especially when all the other options are wrong? So overall, this particular passage to me is a full scorer. Full scorer. Leave no room for making silly mistakes here, right? Having said that, let's quickly solve the next passage for this session. Okay, now this is a passage which I can guarantee, because like I'm just able to take a cursory look at it and I can tell I'm spotting a lot of familiar terms. So it actually depends. If you have read such articles, although I feel this is really easy to understand, you don't have to read everything. Okay, it talks about the benefits of physical activity, regular physical activity at that. Okay, and the entire passage is nothing but an elaboration on the numerous benefits. Okay, so what all can happen? Positive impact. Okay, health, well-being. All right, it strengthens your muscles. This is how quickly you can read it. Bones, joints, cardiovascular system is positively impacted. Heart and lungs become healthier, right? Healthy body weight can be maintained. Risk of chronic diseases can be reduced. Immune system can be improved as well. You see, you don't have to read everything word for word here, right? It also plays a significant role on your mental and emotional well-being, right? Because physical activity stimulates the release of endorphins. These are happy hormones, right? Which are natural chemicals that boost mood and reduce stress, you know. And it can elevate symptoms of anxiety, depression, improve self-esteem, cognitive function can be enhanced, which includes memory, concentration, right? It boosts energy level, right? It increases blood flow and oxygen delivery, engaging in physical activity to your muscles and organs, promoting better energy production and distribution throughout your body. Read further. There is an increase in stamina, reduction in fatigue. Okay. Now, again, this is important. If you struggle with getting a good night's sleep, exercise can help. Promotes better sleep quality, can help you fall asleep faster. Sleep wake cycle, your circadian rhythm also gets fixed, right? Helping you establish a consistent sleep pattern. Okay, but avoid exercising too close to bedtime. Always focus on the however and buts and all those, right? As it may increase alertness and make it harder to fall asleep. Okay, now participating in group activities can provide opportunities for social interaction also. Okay, engaging in physical activity can with others can boost your social skills, build teamwork, increase your confidence and self-esteem. So the benefits are manifold here, right? So you don't have to spend a lot of time. Very simple passage, there's no main idea per se. It just talks about the benefits of physical activity, not just in maintaining one's physical health, but also on somebody's emotional and mental well-being, right? So let's just go through the questions one by one. A very super easy passage, and the language is also quite easy to understand. Okay, the first question: now what can be concluded about the benefits of incorporating daily exercises into your lifestyle? This should be easy to answer. Improve physical health is there, definitely. Mental, emotional well being, increase energy levels, better sleep, and social connections. All of these are mentioned. To me, option A seems quite concrete. Let's still take a look at the other options. Reduce risk of chronic disease, better academic performance, increase flexibility and improved self confidence, enhance creativity, faster metabolism, increase social media following, and improve fashion sense. Right off the bat, I know that this is one option we can definitely eliminate. Decrease muscle strength, reduce brain function. Now, this is also something we can eliminate because it runs in direct contradiction to the idea mentioned. But the best option choice should be, when you read it, you can automatically tell. It has to be A. All of these are more secondary in nature, right? But the primary benefits here would be option A any day. Okay, that's for question number 7. Next question. So, how can regular exercise contribute to mental and emotional well being? Does strengthening of muscles, bones, and joints have anything to do with these two parts? Absolutely not. So, cancel option A. It helps regulate the sleep wake cycle. Again, in no way is this contributing to mental and emotional well being, at least not directly. So, what you need to do is you need to locate this part and you will understand that there is a fact mentioned about endorphins, and that's the best option choice. Okay, because the answer to this particular question is hidden in the paragraph which talks about how exercise can improve mental and emotional well-being. Okay, so D is not related to this aspect of the discussion in the passage, hence C for question number A. Right, take a look at 9. Now, which of the following options about the benefits of exercise to one's energy levels is true? Benefit of exercise to one's energy levels: it improves cardiovascular health, it enhances cognitive function. All of this is to do more with the mind, okay, than with the energy level. The best option choice is C. It boosts the production and distribution of energy. You see how it is related to this argument. It's not like the other options are not given, but you have to focus on the requirement of the question, or what essentially is the question asking. Hence C, right? So cancel option A, B, and D. Question number 10. Now it's a strengthen question. Strengthen the assertion, which assertion that exercise boosts mental and emotional well being. Does it have anything to do with eating a balanced diet? No, it does not really capture the exercise aspect. So we can cancel option A. Socializing with friends can enhance feelings of happiness and belonging. But I don't see anything about exercising being talked about in option B, right? So we can cancel option B here. Take a look at C. Engaging in creative activities such as painting, playing an instrument. Again, like, how does option C have anything to do with the question itself? When option C does not talk anything about how exercising can boost mental and emotional well being. Best option choice is D, because if you're able to show that it's linked to structural functional changes in the brain associated with improved mood, reduced stress, then we can definitely strengthen the assertion. Best option is option D. Next up is question 11, and you have to weaken the exertion that exercise is good for stress reduction. Now, always remember, whenever you feel you're not able to spot the correct option immediately, rely more on the elimination technique. I always like to eliminate the bad options first. Okay, so you have to weaken that exercise is good for stress reduction. Engaging in physical activity increases heart rate, blood pressure, and anxiety. If this is happening, then how can I say that exercise is good for stress reduction when in fact it is only furthering stress here? It leads to an increased blood pressure and anxiety. The correct option should be A, because option B talks about how it can reduce the stress, so it strengthens, right? C talks about how it releases endorphins and ultimately reduces stress, so again this strengthens. D says participating can foster a sense of community and support, which again in a way can strengthen. So option A is the only option that directly negates the assertion. It weakens it. Best option choice for this question will be option A. And the last question for this passage would be more like, which of the following is in line with the argument that exercise contributes to better sleep? Always remember, do not just read the question in a vacuum. Please focus on what is it that you're required to do. You have to choose an option which aligns with the fact that exercise contributes to better sleep. Excessive exercise can make people exhausted and cause them to take naps. Then how is it in a way contributing to better sleep? Where is the better sleep aspect captured? Not given. A is out. Regular physical activity worsens sleep quality. Then again, it negates the fact that exercise contributes to better sleep. Take a look at C. The circadian cycle of sedentary people. Sedentary lifestyle is when there is very less activity, very less movement. Okay, so the circadian cycle, and what is a circadian rhythm or cycle, that's also mentioned in the passage, right? So the cycle of such sedentary people is generally disturbed, increasing the risk of insomnia. You might say, ma'am, I don't know anything about C. I don't see how it talks about the fact that exercise can contribute to better sleep. You have a very fair point. But let's just still be sure that D is correct or not. D says exercising close to bedtime negatively affects sleep quality and helps people stay awake longer. So, this also is actually not in line with the argument. It talks about how exercise can negatively affect the sleep quality. So we have already cancelled A, B, and D, but ma'am, what to do with C? It doesn't sound any better. But A, it's the least bad option. Second, in strengthen and weaken questions, there are two options that can seem really close to each other. One option would be that directly strengthens or directly weakens an argument. The other option is something which indirectly strengthens or weakens it. In this case, option C is indirectly strengthening the fact that exercise can contribute to better sleep. Because the people who have a really sedentary lifestyle, they don't do much, there is very reduced movement, right? For them, their sleep is generally disturbed. So that actually means that if they do exercise and if they incorporate a physical activity to a certain degree in their life, they can see that the sleep pattern might become better. So in a way, it indirectly tells us that it's in line with this argument, making C the best option choice. So that was it. Again, for me, this entire passage with the set of six questions, full scorer, right? So in total, all the 12 questions you can answer easily without leaving any room for silly mistakes. So with this, I would like to end the session. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.